You know when you're looking at a bottle of wine, have you ever stopped to think about the invisible rules that got it into your hands? Well, today we're uncorking the pretty amazing story of how a huge South American trade deal actually shapes millions of bottles of wine every single year. It's a fascinating story, so let's get into it.
Yeah, I get it. It's a fair question. When you're picking a wine, you're probably thinking about things like blackberry notes and tannins, not bureaucratic trade policy, right? But what if I told you that for a whole lot of South American wines, a trade deal is one of the most important ingredients?
Well, it's because those agreements, they are the rule book. They spell out exactly what can be called a fine wine. They dictate how much sugar is in a dry, sparkling wine, and they make sure the bottle that ends up on your shelf is exactly what it claims to be. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. We're talking about Mercosur. Think of it as a big trading club for countries like Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And for them to trade freely, they had to agree on the basics, you know? They needed to create a shared language for their products, and especially for their wine.
The core idea was actually pretty simple: create one giant unified market. And to do that, you have to get everyone on the same page with the rules. This gets rid of trade barriers, makes sure everyone's playing fair, and, this is the big one, it builds trust. So you, the person buying the wine, you know that a bottle from Brazil has to meet the exact same standards as one from Argentina.
So what does that actually look like in practice? I mean, how on earth do you standardize something as creative and complex as wine? Well, it turns out it all starts with getting very, very specific.
And this is where that common language really comes to life. These aren't just, friendly suggestions. These are legally binding definitions that apply across all the member countries. So, a Brut sparkling wine from Uruguay has to have between 8 and 12 grams of sugar per liter, the same exact standard as one from Brazil. It's basically consumer protection written right into international law.
And trust me, the level of detail goes even deeper. Take the term vinho fino, which means fine wine. The rules define it super precisely. It's got to have a specific alcohol content, and this is crucial. It can only be made from the classic European grape varieties, the ones we know as Vitis vinifera. So when you see that label, it's not just some fancy marketing term. It's a promise. It's a guarantee of a certain standard.
All right, so that's enough of the high-level abstract rules for now. Let's see how this all plays out on the ground, so to speak. We're going to zoom way in on Uruguay, and specifically its most important wine region, Canelones.
Canelones is really the beating heart of Uruguayan wine. And its secret weapon? It's all about the terroir. That nearby Atlantic Ocean acts like a giant natural air conditioner, giving the region these mild summers and cool winters. You combine that climate with clay and limestone soils, and boom, you've got the perfect recipe for grapes that produce these incredibly elegant, fresh, and mineral-driven wines.
And in this absolutely perfect environment, one particular grape variety didn't just survive, it completely thrived. It became a national hero. We have to talk about Tannat.
This is such a brilliant illustration of the magic of terroir. See, Tannat originally comes from France, where it's known for being, well, a bit of a brute. It's powerful, it's rustic, and it has these really aggressive tannins. But when that same grape was planted in the unique climate and soils of Canelones, something truly incredible happened. Those harsh tannins, they softened, they became elegant. The grape went from being a background player that often needed blending to an aromatic, complex superstar that could shine all on its own.
I mean, this transformation was so profound that Tannat became way more than just a grape. It became a symbol of Uruguay's entire winemaking identity, a real source of national pride, and really, its signature calling card to the rest of the world. Okay, so now it's time to bring everything together. Let's connect the two big threads we've been following, those high-level Mercosur regulations and the very local, on-the-ground story of Tannat from a small winery in Canelones.
So here we are again, looking at a pretty technical document. But now this makes sense, right? We get it. When a winery in Canelones wants to sell its beautiful Tannat in, say, Brazil, it has to meet these exact limits on everything from acidity to mineral content. These rules are the invisible guardrails that guarantee safety, consistency, and quality in every single bottle that crosses the border.
But look, don't let all this talk about rules make you think it stifles creativity. Absolutely not. Within this same framework, you have an incredible diversity of producers. You've got these historic, traditional wineries like Familia Decas and Pisano, right alongside innovative, modern ones like Buza and Garzon. They're all working within these same shared standards, but they're all creating their own unique, beautiful expressions of Uruguayan wine.
But the story doesn't stop there.
Because just like wine itself, the rules are always evolving. And it turns out the next great chapter for Uruguayan wine isn't just about quality anymore, it's about sustainability.
And we are not talking about some small niche movement here. By 2023, the goal was to get nearly a third of the country's entire wine production certified under a new national sustainability program. That is a massive, massive commitment. And the industry's leaders are completely on board with this. Ricardo Cabrera, who's the president of Uruguay's National Wine Institute, he just put it perfectly. He basically said that sustainability isn't an optional add-on anymore. It's a fundamental part of what makes their wine high quality.
And it's really important to understand that sustainability here means more than just, organic farming. It's the whole shebang. It's a holistic approach that's about taking care of the environment, for sure, but it's also about ensuring safe and fair conditions for workers and making sure the wineries themselves can thrive economically.
Which brings us to one final thought. We started this whole thing talking about rules for things like sugar and alcohol content. But as all of us, as consumers, become more and more conscious about where our products come from, well, you just have to wonder, right? Could that simple little seal on the bottle that guarantees sustainability, could that soon become the most powerful and important rule of all?